So I saw Kathy made a new video. Say, I don't watch her videos because her voice instantly triggers me. So I try to read the transcript, but the problem is that I guess she's too stoned or high on whatever pills she takes now because the transcripts don't make any sense. So, you know, she's saying, well, I proved your little brother was a ward of the state when he died, so where were the checks that your mother was crying about? Okay, Kathy, why was my little brother a ward of the state if my mother was a decent mother and would have no reason to lose custody of him? Can you please explain why my little brother died a ward of the state if my mother was capable of being a mother? That right there kind of kills your argument, doesn't it? You won't see that. But yeah. And she says, and Mima would not have given you a vehicle. She was not going to let you drive away with one of her vehicles. It was not going to happen. The 1998 Grand Jeep Cherokee Limited. Kathy. When I graduated high school, as a graduation gift, she gave me a 1998 Grand Jeep Cherokee Limited with gold rims and seat warmers and the radio controls on the steering wheel that I used to mess with people and make them think that my radio was haunted because it would change the station if a song I didn't like came on. I crashed that Jeep when I was married to my husband. That's what happened to that Jeep. We got in an accident and it got stretched out for a 2000 Ford Exploder that exploded on me. And then we switched that out for a Crown Vic. And then finally I was driving the 2006 when she passed away. And that was the Jeep that you drove off with, laughing at me that I would never be able to get the insurance and registration on it anyway. Ha 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 ha. No, I did not move in with my grandmother after I graduated high school. I visited her just like I did when I was with my parents. I would come and stay with her for a couple of days at a time. She didn't know that I was living in a Jeep. When my husband met me after school, when we met up again after school, it was because I was living in the Jeep and his bike had a flat and he was pushing it through Walmart and he needed a ride. And from then I was staying in his apartment with him, and then we were staying in the trailer at 6690. So I saw she's trying to say, oh yeah, you had your own credit card and that's what you paid for the funeral with, and that's what she was mad about. I never paid for any funeral, Kathy. You need to get the receipts and prove what you're saying, because I know that I have never filled out any paperwork and paid for a funeral, a headstone, an obituary. I've never done any of that. It literally wasn't me, and I would not have had to steal my grandmother's credit card. She's saying, well, yeah, okay, so she gave you a credit card when you were 16, but it was just your secondary name. You never had one that was in your name. It was a secondary on her account. No, ma'am. No, 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 no. She opened an account for me. She put $100 in the savings so that it would have money. It was my account. It was not attached to her. She did that to help me raise my credit when I was a teenager, to help me get into the world. And then she got upset because later that account was automatically closed down because the bank was taking $5 a month for every month that I didn't use the account. The bank would take $5 of it, and then eventually they sent us a letter that said, hey, you don't have any money in your account anymore because we took it all for fees. So if you want to keep this account open, you need to put more money in it. That was what happened with my very first bank account and credit card. And by the time I turned 18, like when I moved in with my husband, then I was using the account. I had to have some proof that I would be able to pay the rent to get the apartment that me and my husband were staying in out on Beach Boulevard when he was working. Um, oh God, where was he working at that place? I know when we divorced, we were both working at the Five Guys. And then we would separate, and I would go to P.F. Chang's, and he would go to Cheesecake Factory. And she's saying, see, I have proof that you were only married for 2 years. Your proof sucks. Me and my husband got married in 2004. We separated the first time just before my father killed himself. You're right. The night the neighbors came and drove him off after he beat me so badly, it was only about a week later that my father committed suicide, and then my husband came back to comfort me in a hard time, and we made up and we stayed together for a couple more years. We separated many times, and then we got back together. The official divorce didn't happen until 2013. So if you have paperwork saying that the dissolution happened in 2006 or something, but that's not accurate at all. We may have separated in 2006, but we stayed legally married until 2013. Because I didn't have the money for the divorce, and he didn't have the money for the divorce. And originally, he told me he didn't want to get a divorce. Because he told me the only reason he beat me was because he felt like he owned me once he had married me, and so he could do whatever he wanted. And so he didn't want to ever feel powerful enough to do whatever he wanted with a woman again. He didn't want to feel like he owned a woman again. He wanted to have an excuse to not have to get married again if another woman wanted to. And that excuse was, well, I've got this ex-wife that's a fucking bitch and she won't get the divorce. I was always his excuse. He married me to pretend that he wasn't what he was, and then he didn't want to divorce me to pretend that he wasn't what he was. And then he got remarried, and they were divorced within 6 months. Big fucking surprise. I'm just sick of being lied about constantly. You know? I never took my name off of that property at 6690. It was never in my name. It was just that everybody knew it was mine. Meemaw said that I could stay there. She said it was mine, and everybody knew it was mine. And so Kathy's saying, you could have taken your little brother in and taken care of him. I couldn't take care of myself. I've never been in a situation where I was able to take care of myself, so I could not have taken care of him. And she says, but you would have gotten a check. Wouldn't that have been worth it? No, Kathy, it is not worth taking in a handicapped person you're not capable of taking care of just because you're getting a check for them. That is literally the most fucked up reason to take care of somebody. No. So again, I'm asking you, if he died a ward of the state, why, Kathy? Why did the state decide that my mother was not capable of taking care of her own handicapped son after 20 years? If there was never any problems and never any abuse. Please explain. You can't. You can't explain it. And you won't try. You'll come up with excuses and lies and ways to blame me. Well, you didn't do this either. I was a child, bitch. I was a child. Yes, at 19 when I got married, I was still a child. You know what? I'm still a fucking child. I still don't know how to be an adult, how to take care of myself. You want to know something else? So are you. Because if you were an adult, you wouldn't need to make up these excuses and lies to pass the blame back over to the victim of the situation. It was not my responsibility to take custody of my brother after the state took him away from my mother. Did you take custody of your sister, Kathy? Did you take care of your little sister? Did you take custody of my mother when you realized that she was not capable of taking care of herself? Since that's what family does. Did you take care of my mom? Or did you just let her die in a hospital in Florida while fundraising to piss on her son's grave? I just want to make it clear. None of this has been about money. It's been about being heard and my abusive family no longer having control over me or of the narrative of my life. A couple of years ago, when the family sued me for my portion of the inheritance, when my little sister was threatening lawsuits and telling me that they were looking for me, I told her I didn't care about the money. I just wanted my story. I told her that they could have the money. Have all the money, all the cars, the possessions, the materials. All I want is to be able to tell my story. You're not going to be able to buy it away from me, Kathy. I'm sorry, but you're not. It's literally all I have. And you can't take everything. You can't have the money and the property and also have my story. The deal I made was you could have the money and I can have my story. No matter how much you scream and say that I'm a liar, you haven't proved anything with your lies about me. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me, so your lies about me don't even make sense.